Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Faith Black Lights, we take a look at this. And what this is from Seed Ranch, it is the Smoky Ghost hot sauce. And I've seen a number of Seed Ranch products here and there, and I really like these labels. They're very clean, they're very slick, and but most of the time it's very tame what I see for the most part. But I found this and a lot of others on the hallowed shelves of BYT. So once that was the case, I realized they had a lot more different flavors than I had understood, and this being one of them. So we got ghost pepper, chipotle. Already we're off to a great start. Dates, outstanding sweetener, and cumin. Cumin is one of those spices that I'm just kind of tired of. Little goes a very long way with me. But we got spicy, smoky, sweet, and dates and carrots. So I'm thinking this could be very interesting. I like dates, I like figs, I like those types of fruits quite a lot, truth be told. All right, so we've got vinegar, water, chipotle, carrots, dates, ghost pepper, garlic, apple, interestingly, cumin, salt, and black pepper. So a pretty solid lineup. Definitely a lot of strong potential here, is what I was thinking. And I hadn't had, this is the first thing I've ever had from Seed Ranch. Let's have a little bit in the old spoon here. Take a look at it. As you have probably noticed, it is this sort of nice medium rich brown. A lot of particulates floating around in there. I think the color is actually quite nice. I do like the color of this quite a bit. I think it looks really good, and I like the idea of sweetening it with more natural stuff. But you know, truth be told, looking at this label, we're not going to see ultimately probably a lot of sweetness, unfortunately. Probably not anywhere near as much as I would want or be thinking, but given how far back dates are. But it looks great. This is an excellent looking sauce. I think it looks just gorgeous. And I'm getting a little bit of whiffs of smoke coming off the spoon here as I try to show you the coloration and so on. Yeah, it's nice, very lovely. But let's get on into it. So it is quite astringent, surprisingly so, given all the other stuff. I feel like it is slightly more reminiscent of maybe like an A1. Flavor isn't like that, but it does seem a bit more reminiscent to that style of a condiment for me. Black pepper definitely reads pretty strong here. Smokiness is quite a bit lighter than I would have thought. And the cumin is far enough back too. It's not really playing into things. And so I've tried it on a few different things, and to me it seemed like the way to go was going to be like a red meat, like a richer sort of meat. It was okay on chicken. but it wasn't really something that I wanted. And so I got, we're not quite to grill season yet, so I got these instead. These are a different chicken finger, or not. These are a different steak finger than ones I've had on this channel before. And I thought, well, I haven't tried that brand. Why don't I try out that brand? And, you know, we'll see how that goes. I haven't had them in probably since the last time they appeared in a video. I don't have them very often, but it seemed like they might just fit the bill here, and I could kind of kill two birds with one stone. I'm always interested in new products. And definitely this flavor combination is just, it is very interesting. I think it's interesting maybe more than any other factor. I find it really curious, but it does, I think, sort of just lend itself more towards, and unfortunately there's no pairings here, but it does lend itself more towards like a red meat, a hamburger or something like that, than towards the lighter meats for me anyway. So we'll give it a go here on these steak fingers. I don't, I'll throw a little in there for dipping. I don't think these steak fingers are actually all that good. The other brand that was there I liked a lot better. But I do think this sauce works pretty well with them. It's a really, really curious sauce. I would have expected quite a bit more heat. More smokiness as well. And using dates, I would have thought there would have been a lot more sweetness. It reminds me a bit of the yin yang sauce I did last year. Which I thought was a very A1-ish type sauce. This is much more astringent than that is, though. I'm not really familiar with what the seed ranch does. I mean, that name is suggestive, I guess, of cultivar of seeds to sell. So maybe a nice, what is this out of? A nice farm or something. It's out of Boulder. So we had Colorado riding strong again. The two places that really surprised me, I think, the most as far as the hot sauce world are Colorado Just from the sheer number of them, I would not have expected that many to be there. And Vermont. And Vermont is really more because they've got 3 of my favorite sauce companies there. And there's some really high quality stuff. Happening in Vermont. And some of that kind of thing comes down to, you know, population density and so on. Colorado definitely has their fair share of hot sauce companies, but you know, you expect like California and stuff. And maybe to a degree, you know, some of the warmer, more humid states like the Carolinas or something. Georgia, maybe. It didn't seem to work out that way. And of course, Canada. I think the food scene going on in Canada is pretty interesting. This is not, as you probably have already gathered, a particularly hot sauce. And I think they're definitely going more for flavor. But I mean, it also speaks to me of like a boutique sauce. No, just preservatives in it. I don't really think this is named correctly though. I've eaten quite a bit of this just in this video here. I have yet to detect any heat, any smoke. And the dates here kind of function like the raisins in A1. You can't really pick out raisin flavor necessarily. I think it's more for body and texture and a little sweetness. That's kind of what we have here. I think I like the idea. You get I will get little carrot grace notes here, which I think is kind of interesting. But I think this is supposed to be a sauce that is really meant as an amalgamation rather than being able to pick out a lot of the individual parts separately. Other than the black pepper. Black pepper, no getting around. I love black pepper. So I have no real problem with black pepper reading as forward as it does here. We've got gluten-free, vegan. I would imagine most, if not all, hot sauces are probably going to be gluten-free by default. I don't know of a lot of them that have different grains in, or flours or any of that, other than maybe mustard flour, in the mix. Vegan as well. Other than some of the sauces that occasionally will use butter, I can't think of too many animal byproduct type things that show up in hot sauces. So, I mean, that's fine. They put that on there. I mean, I get it. It's marketing, you know, whatever. But I think that's a little bit more indirect, I guess, than anything. Think of a Louisiana style sauce, right? Cayenne, vinegar, water, salt. That's the same. I mean, that's vegan and that's gluten-free as well. Anyway, though, that aside, it's a very interesting concoction. So I think the more you like the boutique and exotic sauces, the more I think you'll like this one. The lingering flavor in my mouth right now is black pepper, which I don't mind. Like that is, I'm way good with that. But it does, like, I guess it just kind of speaks to me a little bit more of, like I said, that it's closer to like the yin yang sauce than it is to like an A1. But that style, I think, is really more where this one falls. And that's fine. You know, I like to have hot sauces I can have with burgers. I don't, most of the hot sauces I have, you know, chicken, fish, and to an extent pork. Beef, I think, is one of those where not everything naturally flows towards beef, because beef has a quite strong taste to it. And it's good to have some of those that you can have on there. I do think, so I like A1 on pork. I think this would be quite nice on pork as well. I didn't really love it on chicken. Like it just, to me it was okay, but it's not something I would want to have again. So I think the flexibility is a tad limited here. For me personally, when I saw Chipotle and I saw dates, the two things that I was really hoping for would have been some smokiness, and it's quite minimal, if at all here, and a lot more sweetness from the dates. Dates and figs in particular can be very, very sweet. Like they can, not quite cloyingly sweet, but just right on the border of that. And so I was thinking, I'm like, hey, you know, they could have a little something here right there, right? With the dates. And you don't see that a lot in hot sauces. So I was, you know, my ears perked up a little bit and I got a little excited, but even just, yeah, I mean, even just smelling it, you know what I smell? I smell black pepper, and like I said, that sort of A1 yin-yang amalgamation. I don't smell smoke. So I guess those are the two things I was thinking were going to be there and weren't. It is a quite nice sauce on its own. I mean, certainly for that. You know, if you do want something for red meat or like pork or something like that, this is a really good one to look at. But also, I think it is very, very nice for the people, those of us who like unique sauces and who are food adventurers, that we like trying, you know, like I said, sort of the boutique sort of exotic stuff. And I think this one falls in line a lot better there. And we'll just leave it right there. So that was the Seed Ranch Smoky Ghost Hot Sauce. Now we'll fall in peace to serve the flame.